Hola amigos y bienvenidos a un nuevo video de IEI High School. El día de hoy hablaremos sobre Sentence Correction Questions, que es un tipo de pregunta bastante importante y común en los exámenes de comprensión verbal. Así que vamos a ello. In today's class, we'll talk about sentence correction questions, and we're going to just see a brief introduction of what it is. Then we are going to know some more approaches or a systematic approach so we can solve those questions in a very easy way. Third, we are going to talk about important tips and tricks for these kind of questions. And at the end, we are going to practice. Let's go and talk about the directions. This question presents a sentence, part of which or all of which is underlined. Beneath the sentence, you'll find 5 or 4 ways of paraphrasing the underlined part. The first of these repeats the original. The others are different. If you think the original is best, then you have to choose the first one. Otherwise, choose one of the others. This question tests the correctness and effectiveness of expression. In choosing your answer, follow the requirements of standard written English. That is to say, pay attention to grammar. Choose the answer that produces the best or the most effective sentence. This answer should be clear and exact, without awkwardness, ambiguity, redundancy, or grammatical errors. Common grammatical errors. That's something very important that we need to know or be aware of by learning some more about grammar, reading books, movies, etc. Sentence correction questions are not assessing whether you remember the technical grammatical jargon you've learned in secondary school, in the academy, or any other place, or your knowledge of spelling or vocabulary. Rather, these questions assess your ability to clearly communicate ideas in written standard English. Brush up of these commonly abused grammar rules. First, subject-verb agreement. Simply, subject-verb agreement means that the verb in the sentence should accurately align with the number of the subject in the sentence, singular or plural. Second, verb tense. Verb tense signals to the reader when an event occurred. Throughout a sentence, the verb tense should be the same. Modifiers. Modifiers is a word, phrase, or clause that provides additional information about another word or phrase, generally functioning as an adjective or an adverb. Often in sentence correction questions, you'll find a misplaced modifier, which makes the sentence unclear. Pronouns. Pronouns are words which replace antecedents, or nouns which come before them in a sentence. Last, comparison. When writing a comparison between two people, things, or ideas, it is important to ensure clarity with words, order, and grammatical structure. Quite often, test makers above all do not like sentences which are not clear. Ask yourself if the answer you chose helped to clarify the idea of the sentence. If yes, then you can choose it. You'll also need to review the above grammar rules to avoid relying on your ear. Some test takers, especially native English speakers, fall into the trap of choosing the answer that sounds right. However, in daily English conversation, we frequently make technical grammatical errors. This can deceive your ear to think the answer you are considering is correct, when it is not. Rely on the rules instead of your intuition. That's very important to remember. Let's talk now about the systematic approach to tackle this kind of question. The first is, because sentence correction questions deal with specific grammar rules, it can be easier to implement a systematic approach to each question, which will help you in the long run. First, you have to simplify the sentence. The first thing you can do is to simplify the sentence given. These sentences are generally packed with superfluous information to confuse the test taker, so look for extra details. First, you can look for information offset by commas. For example, dogs, unlike the wolf, has been bred for thousands of years to live amongst humans. Becomes, dogs has been bred for thousands of years to live amongst humans. If it is not clear that the subject of the verb not in agreement and the sentence should be changed to dogs have been bred for thousands of years to live amongst humans, then you can choose that one. Now let's talk about some tricks to solve sentence correction questions. The first one is trust your ears. If you become stuck, say the choices in your head and then select the passage that sounds best to your ears. Most test takers, particularly English speakers, have internalized many more grammar rules that they can explicitly identify. Second, know the time. Use time cues. Example, before, during, as in 1960, to eliminate options that contain verb tense errors. Remember, events that occur during the same time period must be in the same tense. Third, round numbers. If a sentence is about some sort of numerical quantity, example, the percentage of homeowners in Minneapolis is the number of women studying French, check the idiomatic errors. Remember, fewer describes a countable quantity, like people, less describes an uncountable quantity, like sugar. Also, check the redundancy. For example, went up by a 20% increase. And now it's time for the final thoughts about this kind of question. As you could see, it's pretty straightforward. You have to rely mostly on grammar, but also you can trust your ears and your intuition so you can make it better. So the final thoughts. The first one is, once you feel comfortable with the grammatical rules and standard reading English, your goal is to slow down and pay attention to small details. Stick with your systematic approach and resist the urge to rush through sentence correction questions. Remember that doing as many practice questions as you can will help you to begin to notice patterns in the way the sentences are written and where the mistakes tend to appear. Time is the most important factor in every competitive exam. You need to finish your examination within time, but in every competitive exam, they also test your calculation ability within a given time frame. They test how fast you can solve a paper. This is the reason so many students couldn't finish their paper within given time. But for faster solution, you need to use tricks of verbal ability and problems and sentence correction, which will help you to solve competitive government, bank, and other exam papers quickly. Now, let's go practice. For each exercise, you'll have 20 seconds to read and think about it. If you feel like you need some more time, you can pause the video and start solving the questions. At the end, the answer is going to be released. That was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching the lesson, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, since that's going to help us a lot to keep growing the channel. Also, don't forget to watch our other videos about verbal reasoning, leadership, entrepreneurship, and many other topics. Thank you. Bye.